You and I with Rashmi Shetty is a human library audio podcast bringing in stories of people you and I can draw inspiration from. Welcome to the third season of this amazing story listening journey. Ordinary folks, extraordinary lives, their uniqueness and individuality, making them interesting to talk to and to listen to. Each one of them completely connected to the voice in me and with motivational stories of moving beyond themselves to make a difference in the world. A reaffirmation of the fact open your eyes wider. The world is far more beautiful when we acknowledge the presence of both you and I. Our guest today is Nakul Shenoy, also known as the Mind Reader, an Indian mentalist, magician, author, and critical thinker. A speaker of choice for Fortune 500 companies, he has delivered high impact mind reading exercises across Asia, the Middle East, Europe, UK, and the USA. With 10 TEDx Talks and numerous television appearances to his credit, Nakul has earned a global following for his mesmerizing performances. A compulsive reader of books and a self proclaimed tea connoisseur, Nakul epitomizes a mentalist in the real world via his demonstrated expertise in the allied fields of magic, communication, hypnotism, NLP, user experience, people behavior, and skepticism. Nakul's book, Smart Course in Magic Secrets, Staging, Tips, Tricks, is published by HarperCollins and is available in all leading bookstores and online. Listen in as Nakul shares his journey from magic to mentalism and what he thinks of social media. Hi, Nakul. Such a pleasure meeting you after so many years. Welcome to You and I with Rashmi Shetty. I am curious to know where Nakul's journey started. So, where were you born, brought up to the Nakul Shenoy that the world knows you today as?
Hey, Rashmi. Wonderful to see you and talk to you after such a long time. And it feels like we're just traveling back in time, back to the AIR, I think, interview you did with me years back. So thank you for having me on your wonderful show.
Pleasure.
I was born in Udupi, Karnataka. I, very young, for some reason, was fascinated by this character called Mandrake the Magician. You must have definitely seen Phantom from the Indrajal comics.
Yes.
The same person, Lee Falk, also created Mandrake, who happens to be the world's first superhero, crime-fighting superhero with powers in that sense. Mandrake caught my imagination, my fancy, everything. And right from that moment, I wanted to be Mandrake. I wanted to make magic. I didn't know magic was tricks and all that. I just wanted to do magic for real. By the age 5, it was clear to everybody around me, so much so that at age 5, I remember being taken to a very big show that happened, and only the adults went, but then they took me along, and perhaps I was the only toddler in the whole damn auditorium. So I think it was much before 5, although I'm used to now saying 5.
Okay. And your entire childhood was in Udupi? You went to school and college there as well?
Yes, I studied my primary, my higher education, my college, and my master's, everything Udupi and Manipal in that sense, because being part of the Manipal set of institutes has already, given you that right start in life, I guess. And I did my master's in mass communication from Manipal Institute of Communication. And in 2000 was when I moved to Bangalore with my master's.
Taking you back to your school and college days, magic always fascinated you, but how are you as a student, and were you part of a lot of extracurricular activities, outstanding in the literal or figurative sense?
How I wish. No, I was scared of people. I guess I was just people shy. I did not want to see or meet anybody that was outside of my immediate circle of family. So if anybody came home, I would hide inside the huge ancestral house that we have in Udupi. So this was the dichotomy, right? I wanted to be a magician, but I didn't want to meet people. In school, even all the way through my 10th, I guess I would have got on stage very little few times. And that also I had to be literally pushed on stage for some other event, perhaps a speech or something like that. But I was definitely not one of those who was this seemingly always there managing events and talking and all that. Because for me, as I said, magic was real. I didn't realize that by trying to learn magic, I had to actually perform it for people. Yes, it's a weird start. But then I think magic made a huge difference. By the time I was getting through 10th, I was starting to do small shows just for the family in that sense, and something changed my life immensely around 94. And then I was literally pushed on stage to do my first public show, which had perhaps 500 to 700 people in the audience. And yeah, it's a nice story. I can get into that if you want. But what that actually taught me was, hey, I could get on stage. Hey, I can actually stand and talk to people. I can entertain people. And people are fascinated with magic, right? I was perhaps the worst magician on earth, but people are there. People are happy to watch magic. All ages are happy to sit and watch magic. So POC onwards, in that sense, I was suddenly this, MC for all the events, and the person you thought I was. So why I'm telling you this story is, I think magic really had a big role in what I am today. Um, because it gave me the confidence that I could hold a mic. It gave me the confidence that without magic also today, I can just get in front of a set of people and control a crowd. If something, there have been events where I was just in the audience, something went horribly wrong. There was some fights in the audience, and me being me, just went on stage and sort of controlled the situation. So I don't think that until the first 15 years of my life, that was possible.
Wow. Now we'll go back. First 15 years of your life, it wasn't possible. And magically, you get on stage with magic, and magic transforms you. That's too
Yes.
much of magic in your life.
Yeah, my magic has all been about magic. Yes.
Yeah, can you take us through that bit a little? Because dissecting that becomes very important to who you are today. What exactly happened that transformed you from that introvert to be completely comfortable with who you are?
Yeah, I think it all goes back to, Paulo Coelho's words, or Shah Rukh Khan, if that's the version you want, of, you want something badly enough, the universe conspires to get that, right? I always wanted to be a magician, like I said, but I didn't know this was about getting in front of people. But as I started reading books, as I started picking up tricks, etc., I picked up a few effects that I was good at, right? But again, I didn't know, oh, I had to ask people, I can come and perform for you, etc. And also Udupi, right? Udupi back in the late 80s, early 90s was not somewhere where perhaps you had birthday parties and things like that. Yeah. 94, what happened was I was already practicing all this. I had bought, in that sense, magic books. I had bought magic effects from shops and stuff. But in 94, there was a magic convention that happened in Udupi. This was called Gili Gili Magic. This was organized by Professor Shankar and Junior Shankar. There was this press articles about this that said magicians from all across India and are gonna come for this. And I said, oh, magicians are gonna come. I can't go because I'm not a magician, because I don't have a certificate that says I'm a magician. So there are these events that happen morning to evening. And then in the evenings, there are gala shows, which is open to public. You can buy tickets and go. So all the 3 days I was there buying tickets and watching every single show that happened that was open to public. There were some public events, which is outdoor events, like Prahalad Acharya performing the Houdini Escape in Madhya Sarovara in the Krishna Mat premise. All that I went and watched, right? And all my cousins are taking me, because I'm this 14, 15-year-old kid. So they're taking me there and they're telling, and I'm telling them, hey, I know all this stuff. I can do all this. And they're like, why the heck don't you do it then? Stop talking big. So now the funny thing is, Professor Shankar and Junior Shankar are actually, Junior was very young. I mean, he was similar. He's of the same age of me. But Professor Shankar was a good friend of the family. So all I had to do was tell somebody in the family I wanted to get to this event, and they would have asked, and Professor Shankar himself would have invited me. But I didn't have this, right? Like that people shy person. 2 days after the event, Professor Shankar comes home for some other reason. And my grandfather tells him, hey, by the way, this guy also does magic. So they are on this tour of the US. They came home for some preparation of that. And then he starts asking me questions. And I'm like, hey, see, I have this bag load of equipment. I can do magic. So So they say, okay, we're going off, we're going to come back, and then we will visit you, you perform for us. So they go, they come back after their tour, and both Professor Shankar and Junior Shankar, who happened to be the world's youngest magician, he had started performing at age 3. He's just 6 months younger to me. So, I never could do any kind of claims because he was already performing magic for 12 years before I got on stage as 15-year-old. So they come home, they watch me perform magic. I keep joking with them even today that it was the most horrible show, and they assure me, no, it was not. They corrected a lot of my handling. They taught me how to perform, how to routine an act, how to start something, how should the middle part of the show be, how should the ending be. Because, like I said, I had a lot of material, and I was a book learned magician, right? And I'd seen a lot of shows. But this really helped. And then sprung the surprise, which was, hey, we do this small show during Ganesh Chaturthi, and we're going to just talk to the organizer. Perhaps you can do it this time. And I'm like, yeah, okay. I mean, I didn't think this was for real. The next thing I know, Ganesh Chaturthi happens, and I realize that the newspaper has this line that says, okay, here's the program list, and Professor Nakul Shenoy is going to perform his show. And there are the handwritten banners outside this temple area, which again proclaims that on a particular day, 6:30 in the evening, Professor Nakul Shenoy's show is happening. And I'm like, okay, now I can't run away, right? So that happened to be then the first time I literally did a public show where in this temple courtyard, hundreds of people turned up. It was a fantastic start, and it gave me that start which was not even in my dreams. And there has been literally no looking back. It's literally 30 years to that day, and it's been a fantastic journey. And I continue trying to be a real life mandrake.
Now, for this boy who is shy but loves magic and does magic, when you saw so many people waiting there, didn't you get what we call today the imposter syndrome of can I perform?
Not the imposter syndrome as such, but what you talk about, butterflies in the stomach. It was not butterflies in the stomach, right? It was more like skeletons in my body. I was shaking. I'd done a couple of people shows, right? Which was, I think, at a cousin's wedding, which half the people couldn't understand what I was saying because I was in one corner, blah, blah. And one more small little thing, never something like this. This was a proper stage. There were curtain and all that stuff, right? We had a help who was part of our shop in Udupi. He was my assistant carrying, and my mom was background sending, okay, I told them what needs to come when, So half the things, something worked, great. Something didn't work, you still bow. And you learn that with magic. So yeah, so imposter syndrome, I guess, is intrinsic to magic. Just that the point is, people don't know what we are going to do, right? The biggest win for a magician is the surprise element. Yeah. If I tell you I'm going to vanish something, I have this silk and I'm going to vanish this, and then this vanish doesn't happen, they know something went wrong. But the first rule of magic, for other reasons, essentially to improve the surprise for the audience, is not to tell them what happens, which then means that if I was not able to vanish that silk, they are confused, but I can just move on to the next act, right? I mean, yeah, there are things that are great and there are things that fail, but at that point of life, what really helped was that hey, my patter was nowhere, my public speaking skills were nowhere, because half the time I was shaking. Worse, I've always been much more comfortable speaking English rather than Kannada. Being a Kannadiga, being a Konkani from Udupi, on stage speaking Konkani or Kannada is a very different ballgame from speaking it at home and with friends. And all my circle, the same people I mentioned just now, Prahlad Acharya, and who all have become friends for life, where these, we joke, where these Kadambari Kannadigas on stage, right? So they was almost like they were talking literature Kannada on stage, and I was going, Nanna Kayyalli, Idu, I have, perhaps the Bangalore Kannada that we know. So yeah, but what it gave me, for all the wrong reasons in a sense, and the right reasons too, which is where the imposter syndrome comes in, is that, hey, these people really are enjoying magic, and I'm decent, or I'm under par. I can be good at this because this is all I want to do in life. And I think that gave me that right push. And so, yeah, it's just, I guess, God sent in that sense.
And this statement that you just made, that this is what I want to do all my life, was that clear on that day when you stood before those people and you started doing that? This is what you're going to do the rest of your life, magic?
I don't think it's clear even today, to be very frank. But is there one thing in my life that I want to be doing till my last breath and even beyond? That's magic. Now, whether I wanted to do it as a profession, whether I wanted to do it for money, whether I wanted to do it, I don't think all these factors even came into my mind. Even today, it's, thankfully where I am with all the things I do. But it's not so much about, hey, how much is that event gonna get me versus what is the class or level of that event, as much as what can I show them, what can I do that makes this the most memorable moment for them that they remember for the rest of their lives. And I think that was clear, and that's what I mean by saying I am on a journey to be Mandrake, because I think there are certain unattainable even ideas in my mind about what Mandrake the magician can do. And this is a journey, right? With each show, with each time you are in front of somebody, it is a journey where you're trying to be better than last time.
Yes.
And I think that's fascinating in today's world where we are all saying we need mental health, we need things to keep us occupied, etc. I think magic is a most fantastic hobby, because magic, there's so much. I mean, you are seeing behind me, right? This whole room is full of books, right? And it's literally hundreds of them all on magic. It's not like, I'll ever stop learning. There's just one more page to be turned, and there's so much more to learn. And there's so much more out there which I think I have not done or even may not ever be able to do, because there are certain things you do at certain age and things like that. I would not be perhaps able to do the most dexterous of things today because it needs perhaps 20 more years of practice. Perhaps I don't have the patience for it. But then what you also gain with experience is the domain in that sense. And so you learn how to create, you know small magic effects into better magic effects, into make it as good as a miracle, make it that perfect miracle for the audience. So I think that's what keeps you going. I have friends of all ages across the world in magic, and I think that's what keeps them driving. Again, I sorry to repeat, but I'm blessed to have this opportunity.
There's so much joy in your voice, Nakul, when you're sharing this. Clearly, you have found your purpose because each time you're talking and you're saying the word magic, there's something magical about it itself. When you finished your studies, your post graduation, what affirmed it to you that you're going to take magic as your profession?
The thought that it would be a profession was never really clear, and it's a daily thing in that sense. I came to Bangalore for internship originally, and then which turned into a job. I joined Planet Asia, which is part of the Michelin group at that point in time, as what is called a web writer. So I joined as a writer because that's been my background. Very quickly learned there was something called information design, information architecture, which is about how to structure information in a right way. How do you help design a website or a product? And I got into that. Now, as I was doing all that, in Udupi, I had heard, my friends Prahlad or Kudroli Ganesh or even the Shankars talk about, your kind of magic. Because my magic was always English. It was always slightly more cerebral than what others were doing, slightly more serious, slightly more real. We didn't know corporate shows at that point in time, right? These are three blind men leading each other. So they were like, it should be perhaps for the Lions Club and the Rotary Club. Mass or popular culture, right? You do it in the local language. You don't want to have too much patter. You don't want storytelling too much. You just show me something, cut a lady in half and join her again, and move on, right? Whereas mine was more about storytelling. Mine was trying to create a mood, and they're like, okay, why is this guy having 7 people, each of them trying to do different things? Who is the magician in this? It was all getting very confusing, because for me, magic was all about watching at that tape recorded videotapes from across the world, Paul Daniels, David Copperfield, people like that, and trying to imbibe that. And since that is and now imagine this, the best of British magic, the best of American magic, I'm taking to the literally with no ulterior meaning of the word, the Dehati part of the audience, right? It's an open field where like literally hundreds of people have come, half of them speak Tulu, half of them speak Kannada, and like, here's this guy, kid, who is doing a show completely in English, refusing to do it in Kannada because he's bad at Kannada. So that's what they meant, right? In a good way. And coming to Bangalore and doing this, what suddenly opened up were a couple of birthday party opportunities, which then meant there were companies that were supposedly doing some events. And a couple of event managers pulled me in and gave me a couple of shows, which turned out to be really cream of cream, right? I was entertaining a group of CXOs. This is like 2000, 2003. And also my magic was changing. I was doing originally back in Udupi. I was also growing to be an illusionist, getting people on stage, cutting people, vanishing people, and things like that. When I moved to Bangalore, a lot of that, the equipment couldn't come with me. My classmates who were my assistants all moved on to great jobs. So all that got left behind. So I got back to that idea of being mandrake, which meant I was doing, I think roughly the time we connected also originally, was the time when I was moving to be what I called a mentalist or a mind reader. My show was becoming all about reading people's minds and influencing thoughts back in the early 2000s. Rather than cutting people and vanishing people, which was in vogue, right? Everybody was doing it, and I was doing something very different. And so it suddenly gave me this opportunity of performing for the CXO kind of audiences, which then took me across the country, which suddenly, before I knew it, took me places around the world. And I was like, hey, okay, this is going somewhere. And yeah, so I think that is how the whole journey in professional magic or professional entertainment started. Nothing in my life has been really as planned as it seems.
I really love and admire lives like that because I think when you surrender to life, it's magical. It's completely magic. Two steps back, you said you came in for an internship and then that became a full-time job. So magic was more a side hustle that you were doing in spaces like birthday parties. Was it that corporate event that turned it into a profession? When did you decide to give up your job and realize that magic can, which later turned to illusion? We'll come there because I'm very curious on how magic became illusion. Because if you see, the meaning of magic literally is illusion. How did you turn it into what you're doing today? All of that is a journey by itself. But when did your job go away from your journey and this become a full-time profession for you?
So it's not always been really about doing this or that, right? It's been about doing what I think has been the right step at that point in time. So while I shifted from a full-time role in design and moved more to magic being the forefront and design became consulting, there have also been times where I have said, okay, I think what I'm doing in magic needs a break. I am getting too much caught in doing the commercial side of it. I need to be more creative. Let me park that for a bit, get back, supplement that with a slightly more full-time kind of a role on design, and put magic on the side, do that. Sometimes you need to take a break to just reboot.
Yeah.
Otherwise you're just caught in that, right? And so yeah, so those things have also happened.
This question should have been my first question, but I'm asking you now. Uh, Define magic for me, Nakul. Your definition of magic.
Magic to me is about the impossible and making that impossible happen. Now, it could be in terms of nature doing it for us. When you're just thinking of something and that happens, that's magical. You want to meet somebody, you want a particular book perhaps that doesn't, has been out of print for ages. And the next day you just find it on one of those searches you have done for ages and ages, but that next day it's there, and not at thousands of dollars, but like, at literally, I think I have a book that I picked for 99 cents, which has been out of print. And the search happened every now and then, but so that is a magical moment, right? Anything unexpected, or what you think is not possible happens, is magic. Now, as a stage performer, the job is to make that happen, and to make that happen for the audience, and to make that happen consistently for the audience. Now, if that can go a little more level to unexpected territory, I think that becomes miracle, where there is absolutely no whim or reason why that could have happened. That's an absolute impossibility, but it happened, and it may most probably never happen again. That is the moment you want to create for your audience with every single thing you do. That is the moment you want to deliver to your audience every single show you want to do, right? And so the yearning for a magician is to make not just real magic in the minds of the audience, but to deliver at least one miracle in a miracle moment for the audience. So yeah, so for me, magic is about creating It didn't start that way, but today it's about creating the impossible.
Wow, creating the impossible is magic according to you. When did magic turn into illusion? And the mentalist that you became and you became popular as, when did that shift happen? And was it something which happened very seamlessly? Or was it something that drew you in and before you realized you're already there?
So I think a lot of moments happen in life which have a deeper, larger meaning or a reason which we don't realize. And if we are able to just go along with it, a lot of good things happen. Like I said, I got on stage because of certain magic things that happened. Somebody else pushed me on stage literally, and that's why magic happened. Similarly, I came to Bangalore. I told you about all these changes that happened by the move to Bangalore. Around that time, I also got a little disillusioned with doing the same card effects and the rope effects and things like that, because everybody was doing it. I didn't really want to do birthday parties, and I didn't want to pull so-called the metaphorical rabbits out of hats. But I wanted to be Mandrake the magician. And my thought of Mandrake, or my imagination of Mandrake, a real life Mandrake, is somebody who does not need props, who does not have assistants, who does not need a truckload of equipment, right? Somebody who can just gesture hypnotically in a sense. So early 2000s, 2001, 2002, when I had just also taken that break right after Planet Asia, end of 2001, 2002, early 2002, I'd taken a break from Planet Asia and I wanted to follow up on my PhD on magic as a medium of communication. I was like, hey, this is not the kind of magic I want to be doing. I want to be doing something different, which is to be a real life mandrake. So I reached out to a couple of people who have off and on been instrumental in certain of these decisions, magic community people. One was Professor Dayanand. He was the brother of Basava Premanand, the famed rationalist, one of the greatest rationalists India has ever had. And so Basava Dayanandji was the vice president of the International Brotherhood of Magicians India, and he was always been very supportive of me. So I reached out to him and said, hey, I want to do this kind of magic. How do I go about it? And he said, oh, there's something called mentalism. And I'm like, what's that? So he said, okay, here are two references for you. There's this person called Bob Cassidy in America, and he has a couple of books and DVDs. Why don't you try reaching him? Meantime, also talk to Sam Dalal, who is one of the greatest magicians India has produced, and he's always been one of the greatest inventors in magic that India has produced. And he's in Calcutta. So I reached out to him. He also says, hey, you should look up Bob Cassidy. And I'm like, oh, do you have anything of Bob Cassidy? He's like, no, not really, but here's the address to him. Like, here's his email ID or website or something. Website at that point in time. So I hit Bob Cassidy and I find that he had a couple of DVDs and books. I get those. And before I know it, I am connected to Bob himself. And Bob was doing one of his first online seminars, early 2001. And I become part of it. It gives me this wonderful community, which I didn't know at that point. I just had classmates who turn out to be the best performers in the world. They are like the most famed performers of the world. These suddenly are my buddies. And I think that literally opened a lot of things for me. One in terms of thinking, one in terms of the approach I wanted to take, the kind of character I wanted to be on stage, and what I wanted to call myself. So while it's all everything that we do in magic is an illusion, as you said, which is true, but there are different types of magic. Normally the term illusion is used for referring to large effects, like cutting a person in half, vanishing a building and things like that. And I didn't want to be getting there. I wanted to do more of what was then called psychological entertainment or psychic entertainment, and the industry terminology for it was mentalism. Now, if I call myself a mentalist, nobody would understand it. So Bob used to call himself the master mind reader. And I said, hey, the mind reader is a good word, because if I use that and I can build a terminal, if I build my whole character around it, and I tell somebody, what do you do? I'm the mind reader. What do you mean? Do you read minds? I'm like, yes, can I, So that I thought was a good start to a conversation. That's how it began, because nobody understood the word mentalist. And I went with the mind reader. 5-10 years into it, the Patrick Jane, the mentalist show became so popular. And everybody today, it's a full circle. When I introduce myself as the mind reader, people go, what do you mean? Are you like the mentalist? So it's actually a full circle. And so, yeah, again, being there and being willing to just explore, try out new things because I'm not again very sure. Again, it's been now 15 years since, or almost 20 years since. It's that idea of, okay, so where can I now take it? What is the next character or genre of magic I want to go? How closer to Mandrake can I really go? Is it again picking up ropes and cards? I don't know. But yeah, I think staying experimental, trying to keep trying new things on audiences, trying to stay fresh in that sense, is what really keeps me going. And I hope the journey continues that way.
This is so fascinating because the illusion of the journey of life is something like this. We don't know what the future holds for us. But when we surrender to life, the right people come in at the right time and direct you in directions where, when you look back today, you're just stunned with how things just fell in place. So, from this magician, you move into calling yourself a mind reader. What does it take to shift from being a magician to being a mind reader?
The primary thing that the shift is the genre of performance. See, if I am on stage and doing the most mind boggling magic, which is perhaps taking, actually appearing something, just making a person appear on stage, and one snap, that person is gone in a whiff of smoke. That's the most unbelievable thing. And it's the most impressive thing for an audience. But the audience is either telling themselves or deep inside knows that this is all an act. It's a theater. This is, to put it unkindly, fake. Yeah. I am not somebody with real powers. I am not somebody who can actually appear or disappear something. Also, there are a lot of others who are actually not able to do that, but then they put, kavi or white dress and able to do that and fool people. But magicians are scrupulous conmen, right? Where we are essentially telling you, hey, as James Randi put it, we are the honest liars. We tell you that I'm going to lie, I'm going to fool you, and I'm going to entertain you, and the focus is on entertaining you with magic, entertaining you with wonder. Now, shift to mentalism. If you look at it as a continuum, right? On one side, you have a trickster, like anybody who does something, a prankster, is it's not even at a level of magic. He's just hiding something in one hand and showing you the other empty, like a small kid trying to do magic, right? And then you have the magician who's adept at what he's doing, but intrinsically, it's like Julius Caesar got stabbed on stage, but it's theater, so it's not that somebody actually murdered somebody, but it's the suspension of disbelief, and so on and so forth. At the end of it is perhaps the godman or even the psychic, or I'm not saying they're all real, I'm just talking it's all a continuum of magic. Somewhere between these two is the gray area of mentalism, where I can tell you I am not for real, or I can tell you, or I don't need to tell you anything. Either way, the audience wants to believe what I am doing is real. We all know people can't read people's minds, but the audience is making this work for me because they want me to succeed. So the primary difference I feel, not just as an entertainer, but as I see my audiences, their mind shifts. When they see a magician, you want to catch him out. You want to see which hand is taking something and where is that box going, how thick is that box, and things like that. But if they believe in the character of a mentalist and they say, Uri Geller bend spoons, even to, I mean, Uri never originally admitted that he was doing this for, with fakery, but today he is. But even today, there are people who say, no, he has real powers. Yeah, because we want to believe in something paranormal. We want to believe that people have certain kind of yogic powers, or whatever else terminology you want to apply to this, that there can be certain things you can do much beyond what humans can, right? With effort, with practice, with sadhana, or whatever terminologies you want to apply. And so I feel that's the primary difference. I may actually go in front of people and vanish a coin, but which using the same techniques of a magician. But if people are bought into the idea that I am a mentalist, they will believe, or they want to believe, it's real. Yeah, it's slightly difficult to, I get slightly too theoretical with this.
Yeah.
I'm hoping this explains. So there was this mentalist called Dunninger back in the 40s. And what Dunninger said was, if you are a believer, no proof is necessary. And if you are a non-believer, no proof is enough. Yeah. which essentially is true, right? Because no matter what I say, if somebody walks into the room as a skeptic, he's mostly going to walk away a skeptic. If somebody is coming in as a believer, he's going to walk away thinking, hey, I need to build temples around Nakul.
Yeah.
Now, I can't control this. More importantly, I don't know they're thinking of this. They're not going to come and tell me. More than 90% of the audience is going to go away without having interacted with me face to face.
Correct.
So the primary thing any entertainer, magician, mentalist, whatever you have, should ensure is that we are not taking people down the wrong path. That people don't confuse us with the godmen who are anyway there to take people's money away. And that we are being truthful to the point. It's tricky territory. It's tricky territory because if I'm too open, I'm taking away your entertainment. I'm taking away your wonder. So I can't tell you exactly how I do stuff. So the mystery needs to be held back, right? I have to protect the mystery, but I also have to be truthful. I have to be the honest liar where I'm telling them enough things to say, hey, all this is an act. All this is theater. Because otherwise, there's no difference between me and the Baba who just takes out things from his pocket, holds it under a trophy, and hands it over to people. That he had real powers.
And, what I liked was when you distinguished the two, where you said in magic, they know it's fake, but in mind reading, they hope you're right. And when you said that, I was just visualizing the audience in both these cases. And I was realizing that, okay, there could have been audiences which would try and outsmart you and try to think that, okay, I'm going to catch this guy in the wrong foot. Let me think something, say something else. Because I remember the experiment you did with me on radio when you asked me to think of a place and you could actually bring me to that place. So there could be people who may lie, who may say, no, no, that's not what I thought. So how would you know? And how would you make sure that what you're doing and what they're thinking are the same? Have you had such moments?
So first up, thanks for the question. Because see, the techniques used in magic and the techniques used in mentalism are different. While they're all the same genre of magic relies a lot on trickery. It relies on sleight of hand, right? Whereas mentalism, while it also uses some techniques from magic, it relies a lot more on people influence. It works a lot more on making people do what I want them to do, or being able to predict their actions using a lot of different techniques, be it communication, be it persuasion, be it influence, and things like that, right? So you can't take it to a point where I'm really reading somebody's mind, but I can make an audience believe I am, because I can, in that given scenario, I can perhaps control the situation of how they think and what they choose and things like that, right? That having been said, the primary thing here is for the audience to like me, right? As a magician, I don't care too much because while there can be interactive magic, it's mostly in my hands. I have something I am giving you, but in the example you used, I ask you to think of somebody, or I ask you to think of perhaps what you like best. And let's say you think of chocolate. Okay. Now, you're thinking of chocolate. I don't know. But perhaps there's some way, using whatever my techniques, I have figured you are thinking chocolate. Now, on stage, in front of these hundreds of people, I am looking to you and I'm telling you, okay, you have this word in your mind, blah, blah, blah. I turn to the audience and I say, okay, so now, Rashmi, you're thinking of chocolate. Now you nodded, Rashmi.
Okay. Yeah.
You don't need to.
Yeah.
On stage, all that really matters is for you to actually like me enough, or support me enough to actually say yes. The moment you say no, I was not really thinking of that, I was thinking of an ice cream, even if I know for whatever format that you're really thinking of it, there's nothing I can do.
True. Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So we do that, right? We ask you to write of something, we'll fold that, we'll keep it separate as an insurance and ask, oh, if you change your mind, let's really see what you have written, we'll open it. But that defeats the purpose, because now I'm not anymore reading your mind.
Yeah.
I am now proving what you wrote. So now it becomes, oh, so there was some way he figured what she wrote. So what are the different methods in which he could have accessed the information she wrote?
Okay.
Now it becomes a magic trick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So what really makes it work is that I am actually able to read your mind. And the only way that is successful is for you to say yes. So have there been cases where things have failed? I wouldn't say failed. Yes, of course, there are ways multiple times when I have got something wrong for a myriad of reasons. But there have also been cases where somebody's come on stage and said no. And the advantage, I guess, sometimes, not always, is that a mentalist can go wrong because it's all an experiment. I can go wrong. This is something I'm dealing with, is not just improbable, it's the impossible. So if I get close enough, you know, if you're thinking of a place and I'm slightly confused, like I'm close to it, or I get part of the name right, you think of some person, many a times the the volunteer is happy and grant you, hey, you know what, I was thinking of this, then I changed to this, and you got the place I was thinking of first. Whereas there are others who say, no, you're wrong. So it's a fun thing. It's all, every single performance is a fun thing. Every single performance is a new learning. But one of the primary learnings for me is, how do I befriend people? How do I influence people quick enough that they like me? Because if they like me, they mostly don't want to see me with egg on my face. If they don't like me, no matter how right I am, they want to be the person throwing eggs on my face. And so to me, that's the win. The biggest win is not what I so much do in the show, as much as do everybody in the audience like me enough that they will come over, talk to me, share things with me, say they like the show, and perhaps even tell what they didn't like so that I could improve it next time.
Oh, okay. Maybe if I ask you what does it take to make them like you, you're giving away your secrets. I won't touch that part, but I
Hey,
will.
genuine. No, I will answer that question, because I think half the time we spend a lot of money and time in trying to see how we can influence people, how we can persuade people. And I do these workshops. And the primary thing I tell people are two things. One, a genuine warm smile helps. A heartfelt smile helps, because when you are not faking the smile, you're actually enjoying, and you're bringing that warmth, as I can see on your face, that's making me smile, which then bounces back on you, so both of us very soon start giggling away, right? So that's genuine. The second is the word genuine itself. Do people see you as genuine?
Yeah.
Do people see you as being somebody open and honest? I think those are the two primary things, right? The not ever smiling. It always helps to, when you meet people, the first impression they have you is somebody happy who is there to share their joy, which is extremely helpful. And the second thing is, do they see you as a genuine, honest person? And I think those are the two factors which help more than any other trick in the book. Right? Yes, I do have tricks in the book which I can't share with you, but I think this is what really helps all of us in life.
Yeah, that's what. So, in any relationship, I think these two are the foundations. And after this, the relationship just thrives. Uh,
Absolutely.
and on this point itself, Nakul, what have been some of those unforgettable moments for you when you look back on your journey, right from the time you began magic to the mentalist that you are? What is it that you forever will treasure?
I think friendships, I think serendipity are the a lot of things in my life are magical because they came true. My thoughts, dreams, aspirations came true. The right person that I wanted, who could help me along, came by of their own accord and helped me. Earlier we were chatting a bit about my book, right? The Smart Course in Magic. Now again, with that book, there's something magical. These were the heydays of Twitter, late 2000s, and early 2010s. I used to do a workshop on magic, and which I said was not scalable enough, so I'll write a book. And there were not too much Indian books on theory of magic, on performance aspects of magic. A lot of books on, okay, here are 100 tricks you can learn. Here are 201 tricks you can learn. I didn't want to teach tricks because there are enough books. I want to teach how to make magic, how to perform when the most, what you think is a throwaway trick, as a miracle. The people should be shaking, So there's this fantastic effect which I love, which is something I think I learned from a newspaper article, that you have a toothpick and you put it in a handkerchief and you break it multiple times, and when you open the handkerchief, the toothpick is the same again. It's perhaps the most exposed effect in the world. And one of my most favorite effects nowadays when I do lectures is to perform this, but perform it in a way that the person on stage is literally shaking by the end of it, because they genuinely feel that they have seen a miracle, right? So these are some of the thoughts that came into the book. Now, okay, not pitching my book as much as the story behind it. So one day I was like, hey, I've written this and I'm going to go self-publishing. I'm going to post this, because I spoke to a couple of publishers. I sent it to a few publishers, no responses. I spoke to somebody else. They said, no, this won't happen. And this person who happened to be, I think, following me on Twitter, we'd never met, we'd never perhaps even interacted too much, suddenly sends me a message, says, hey, hold off. I'm going to connect you to somebody. And so the person who connected me, that lady's name is Aparna Jain. And I'm super thankful to Aparna, like all these other people who came into my life at the right time. And she connected me to a person called Karthika, who happened to be the publisher at HarperCollins. And Karthika says, oh, here's my email ID, send it to me, looks it up and says, oh, this is good. Harper India has never published anything on self-help and magic. So we're going to pick this up. And so that suddenly, again, a dream which I had cherished for perhaps 5 to 10 years, suddenly became reality because somebody came along. So I have multiple such stories I can tell you, which I won't bore everybody on the call. We can always chat. Prahlad Acharya himself, you remember I said watching him being Indian Houdini in Udupi and telling my friends, nobody will remember who Prahlad is 2 years from now. He's my best friend in the world. There's so many things I do with him. Whether we are on stage together or not, I feel we are always part of each other's shows. He's the finest shadow player in the world now. And there are so many things I do, that are a direct influence of, his thoughts. We just sit in Udupi, we were close. In Bangalore also, we stay close to each other. So we're always catching up. So there have been multiple friends like this, real life people who have come in life at various times and have stayed on. And I think that is the greatest magic of life, and I'm blessed for it. I'm thankful for it. And I hope this continues, because I believe I'm midpoint of my life, hopefully. And so there's still a long way to go. And I hope all these friends stay along, and a lot more come into life. And that would be the real magic.
That's so true. And for each one of us, I think this is our prayer as well, that the right people come in, stay on, and then lead us on to where we are supposed to be. But there was one big incident globally which hit every one of us. And that was the pandemic. The pandemic had its own pluses as much as it did carry the minuses. And most of us went into reflection. The pause that we needed was what the pandemic brought. For a lot of us, there were a lot of lessons we took away. What were your reflections, Nakul?
Yeah, so the pandemic essentially, as the Marvel world puts it, is the blip of our real world, right? Because that couple of years, there are some memories. We all lost people that were very dear to us. There were people, there were, of course, some happy times in the pandemic also. But I think it had a huge impact on us, especially in terms of how we remember life, how we cherish certain moments. And I think while there are people still studying and there are articles about how it's also left long-term impact on the way our memory works. I mean, to be frank, I think I also recently was thinking, hey, there are certain things which I know happened, but I have to put a lot of effort. Did I really go there? I have to look up photographs to say, and my memory was not like this, right? So all that aside, I think it also meant that we were all trying to figure, what can we do? We are locked up, we're cooped up. What are the things we can do? One of the things magicians and thankfully me also were able to do in the pandemic was push ourselves and say, hey, we've done magic over TV, we have done magic over the internet in different ways. Can we do magic in people's houses from wherever we are cooped up? Because also, see, when we did magic on TV or even through the internet in the past, it was all planned. Here you were locked up. Today, if I do a virtual show versus the virtual shows I did in early 2020, is a huge difference, because I was literally just using stuff. I was piling up books and keeping whatever laptop I had and using that as a camera. So yeah, so for me, what I remember and what I did during that time, of course, a lot of reading, a lot of reflection, and trying to build a completely new show and things like that. But wanted to connect with my friends who I couldn't meet in real life, and I did something called Nakul Shenoy and Friends, and I interviewed on a similar Zoom platform as we're using today, face-to-face interviews with some of my close friends but legendary magicians of the world. So I did about 50 of these interviews, and we streamed it to the Indian magic community. That was helpful, I think, because I needed to catch up with my friends to cheer me up, and what better than spending a couple of hours with them, over the screen. And that was being live telecast and offered as recordings to magic community across India, which also one was suddenly, hey, they are hearing the innermost thoughts and secrets of the top magicians of the world, and these guys are also being extremely kind and speaking to them. They're taking questions. So I think that was fantastic. I mean, I keep going back and saying, hey, perhaps I should convert those things into a podcast, or I should do podcast. But I think many a times I'm just too lazy, and I completely admire people like you who can do this and who can do a successful podcast. I have never really been able to get there. Perhaps I should want it deep enough and hard enough, and then I think I'll get that also. But yeah, so pandemic has been that. Pandemic has been about friends again, has been about books. For me, the biggest influence in my life has been books, and the pandemic helped a lot in that side of things. I think we also were not too bad of the pandemic. We were in a place where things were under control. Life, while restricted, still took on. Lost a couple of really close friends during that time, which is the hurt that still stays with us. But I think we came out okay. So I say that with certain nervousness, because somewhere I feel we are still in the aftermath of it. Still, a lot of things in life never really went back to pre-pandemic, and I include shows in that sense. I include engagements. I include meeting people. It's While we are doing a lot of it, it's not really gone back to the pre-pandemic time. But there have also been a lot of good things that came out because of the kind of things we are doing now. Remote working and Zoom calls and things have become so part of life that I think that is a good side of it.
That's so true. Today, everyone wants to be different. For an aspiring magician or someone who is interested in being a mentalist or a mind reader, what is it that you would tell them that they should work with themselves on?
This is not just for magicians, but I think I'll go back to what I said a bit earlier. I think in today's world, where we are so, for good or bad, stress stricken, trying to figure out how to take breaks, how to have some mental peace, etc., I would highly recommend people to look at picking up a hobby, what I always have called a creative obsession. And why I call it a creative obsession is, one, the hobby should be creative. Two, it should be an obsession. You should want to do it to a point where people are actually saying, dude, how much time are you spending on this? And you should be spending money on it. That's what makes it an obsession. So this is the good part of the obsession, right? So the creative obsession. I believe people should have a serious hobby, a seriously constructive hobby. And I would highly recommend magic as a second point there, because I think magic has a huge positive impact on my well-being as a magician, but also on everybody around me and on people I and others meet. Because as you learn even 5 tricks from, if nothing else, than my book, it's the entire thing is, you are able to share joy and happiness with people at any point, and age no bar. You can entertain a 3-year-old, or you can entertain a 102-year-old. They are all fascinated with magic, right? And the joy and wonder that magic can deliver is absolutely unmatched. Now, as a performer and as a student of magic, you also benefit immensely. Your critical thinking abilities go to a different level. Your multitasking abilities go to a different level. Your communication skills and persuasion influence skills improve immensely. So, when I do sessions for corporates, this is the point I'm highlighting to even senior management, that no matter how good you are, you will get even better and go closer to great. Magic helps you in unlimited ways, right? So having said that, now I'll shift attention to the specific question you had, which is for aspiring magician. The age old rule of magic has always been three, which is practice, practice, practice. And I think that still holds true. Today's world, the primary thing that keeps magic is gone, the secret. Secrets are so easily available today, because even if you don't want, you just watch a video of a performer on YouTube, right below it somebody would have given a link or even said how that guy did it. Now you didn't want, you just wanted to enjoy, but your enjoyment is taken away. That's the kind of world we live in today, right? Which then means that anything we do has to be so perfect and so good that people actually enjoy it. And for people to enjoy, I take you back to my smiling aspect, right? Which is not that you smile as you perform it, but if I enjoy what I am doing so much, that enjoyment will be shared with my audience. My primary thing for aspiring current and future magicians will essentially be read a lot, read any book that comes your way, not just fantasy and magic books. Read any book and a lot of them, because you will find that they help you with whatever you do, especially magic. Second, be extremely good at the kind of magic you do. So put in all the practice, the rehearsals, and the time for it. And most importantly, enjoy what you're doing. Enjoy, do the kind of magic that you enjoy, do the kind of magic that your audience enjoys, and spread the joy and spread happiness and spread magic. That's primarily my message.
Nakul, you did briefly mention the mental health and the work stress that people have today. Recently, also there is many a news item on how people have heart attacks at workspaces, or people commit suicide because of this work pressure. So, in such times where there is no clear demarcation between work and life, is there something, as a person who's a mind reader, you have found for yourself, or you see works for a lot of us, which will help us get those moments back? Because ironically, we are connected to the world thanks to social media. We are connected globally, but we are not connected internally to ourselves or the people who really matter in our lives. So that's how loneliness has come in. Is there something that in your journey of mind reading and the relationships you built over a period of time, there's something that you would like to tell us?
Thank you for that point and the question. I think the couple of instances that happened most recently are extremely worrying and extremely stressful. And I'm sure and I'm hopeful that all corporate leaders sit down and say, we can fix this and we need to fix this, right? Not wanting to digress and hijack that, because I think we can spend another couple of hours just on that. The primary thing is, okay, so you kept referring again, to the mind reader aspect. And I'm not speaking so much as the theatrical mind reader as much as an entertainer and as somebody who's interacted with ton load of people. Because again, as a mentalist, people do walk up to you, because whether you'd want them or not, they do come and tell you things that they are going through in life and things like that. And I think, yes, we are in a very always running world where most of the times, as you said, we are always in contact with everybody, we are always with friends, but in reality with nobody and with no friends. It's I came across this fantastic social media app called Social AI a couple of days back. Social AI is an app that has 0 users. You are the only user. You can download it, and I highly recommend you to download it, Rashmi, because you will love this. So Social AI is just you with 1 million followers, each of those followers being AI. And those followers are the exact followers you want. So you can tell when you log into Social AI, I want supportive followers, I want critical followers, I want sarcastic followers. And then you just say, hi, I'm Rashmi. And you will get 200 responses, and as many as you will scroll responses to whet your hunger for interaction on social, because it's as real as social is, which basically is, it's all fake. And it's funny because me being from the communication side of things, calling myself a communication scientist, went in, downloaded this app with the idea of seeing how this works, and then I basically wanted to delete it. And I so jocularly posted, okay, I'm done with this app, I'm deleting. And then I had these 100 odd messages from the AI, individual named photograph, messages that come in and say, no, Nakul, don't leave us, we are your friends. For a minute I was like, oh, I don't think I should be deleting this app. Right? So if why am I bringing this is because that's our world today.
Yeah.
Social media is designed, and I'm a UX designer in that sense, is designed in a way to keep us hooked into a world that is absolute make believe. I mean, have you gone to Facebook? Have you gone to Insta and any of the others? Twitter is a hellhole right now. I would have only mentioned Twitter all these years, but I'm also moving away from there. Everything is good. Everybody is happy. Everybody has a new car. No, not hopefully a new wife, but everybody has a. It's everybody is having great things because that's all there is out there on the social. While in reality, that's not what it is. So social AI is exactly what we want, the world we want to live in, right? So I think as the magician, my primary message is what we are looking around, even our own closest circles, our friends, unless we really sit down and have a heart to heart talk, everything we are seeing, everything we are reading, everything we are coming across, whether it's LinkedIn, where everybody has the greatest job on earth, and they left the job because the life called for some greater thing and they want to do world peace, or any of the other socials where they are having the most fantastic lives. Life is not like that. And unless we really sit down with our closest friends and our dearest people and have that heart to heart chat, we will then realize that no, everybody's life is having some potholes, some breakdowns in the road, and to those connects we should see how we can help others in our circles as much as how they can help us. And I think that is something, that check in that sense is something we need to do every now and then, because otherwise my neighbor, oh, I say hi to him, how are you, hey, all great, and I'm like all great, and both are walking around perhaps looking for the next job. That's the world we are sadly living in. When you asked me this question, it actually took me back to the point of mobile phones coming out. I had my first mobile phone very early because I was a magician back in college. I needed a phone people would call me on. And one of the things I realized over those ages was I used to write letters. I used to write letters to my cousins. I used to write letters to so many people. I used to write emails when emails was there. I used to write really long emails to my so-called pen pals or even real friends in life. And today's world, where I have SMS or I have phone, or where I have an instant way of communicating with even you. When was the last time we really picked up a phone and said, I'm gonna call? We don't, because we're always connected. But what we forget is this always connect is social AI. It's all fake. The primary message there is we need to realize the world is an illusion. I don't mean Maya and Richard Bach's illusion in that sense, as much as it is a Truman Show, and we need to figure where we are. Who are we? Are we the actors? Are we Truman? And how we can make life real.
And that by itself is a journey. Like you said, it's like getting into a rabbit hole, and that's a journey on its own.
We are in a rabbit hole, like it or not. We just don't know it. We are the Truman in the Truman Show.
Thank you so much, Nakul. It's been such a joy, pleasure. And magically, I don't know how this hour just went past. Is there something that you want to leave a message from your end because of the spectrum of work that you do and the people you meet? An important life lesson that you think that all of us should carry from you?
Rashmi, first of all, thanks a lot for having me on. It has been an absolute joy and pleasure talking, and I'm getting the benefit which others are not, which is I can see you through the screen, and it's almost like we're sitting across each other. And like I said, the smiles are just bouncing off. So it's been really, really fun, and I can see that the time just flew. My messages are essentially the same. I think in today's world we have stopped reading. I am a media student. I am a big fan of Chomsky and manufacturing consent. And I do that on my stage. So do and everybody says media lies, but we don't really know what we are talking about. We are just saying that we are parroting it because everybody else says it. Yeah. Right? No media can be truthful to you, no matter how, even I or Rashmi in that sense, we all have our influences. And there are agendas. There are agendas we may not even know. So the primary thing is then to be educated for real, which is to read and not just read one side of the story, to read as we journalists were trained to read multiple sides of the story, right? Or you read the three sides of the story, not just the two sides of the story. So I think, yes, my primary message would always be try and redevelop and reconnect. And if you've never pick up the habit of reading books, it doesn't matter whether it's fiction, fantasy, or non-fiction, or whatever. I think the message is to read, because again, going back to the questions you asked about mental health and all that, this fits in. We need a creative obsession. Reading can be that, and reading can lead you to a lot of other things. I read about magic, it took me into magic. Who knows what you are going to read about and what is the journey it's going to take you on. So essentially, have a magical life. That's primarily what I can say.
Your book again. What is your book called? I never asked you that. What is the name of your book? Because if people want to look up on Amazon or Flipkart, what is the name of the book that they should look for?
I think my influence and persuasion is working, Rashmi. I already said it 2 times and you don't remember it. See, but for this time you will remember and everybody will. I'm hypnotizing you into it. The book is called Smart Course in Magic. It's easy. My name is Nakul Shenoy and I only have one book at this point. So looking me up on Amazon, or better still, going to the nearest bookstore and finding perhaps 2 other books when you're looking for mine would be the most fantastic way to find the book. And thanks for letting me plug it in.
Pleasure, Nakul. In life, we magically meet people, and some people just stay with you, and you don't know why. But years later, when you reconnect, you know exactly why. You are one of those. So, a pleasure talking to you. Wishing you all the very best and continue weaving your magic wherever you go, because I think you truly are magical in the way you speak. God bless you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Take care.
With that, we complete this episode of You and I with Rashmi Shetty. Do let us know if you know inspirational people whose story needs to be heard. You can write in at rashmi.thethirdeye@gmail.com. That is rashmi.thirdeye@gmail.com.